What's up everybody, it's Jake from Prism Supply. Today we have a different walk around video for you. This is my 2018 Husqvarna FE 450. So the FE is the street legal Husqvarna version. So it's tagged, plated, got lights, everything. I've had this bike for about, I think 8 or 9 months now, and I bought this bike with the sole purpose of doing the Tour of Idaho on it. The Tour of Idaho, it's basically a 2,500 mile ride through the woods of Idaho. It starts in the southernmost point of Idaho and ends at basically the Idaho-Canada border. I believe it's 70% of it is single track. After doing a bunch of research, this is the bike that I thought was perfect for it. It's a good in-between of weight and engine power. I'm doing this trip with my buddy Dylan. He'll be riding a KTM 501, so we both have similar bikes. To prep for this trip, I had to do an insane amount of modifications. I've been training on this bike for about 8 months now, and as I've been training, I've been slowly upgrading it to the modifications I think that need to be done for the tour. Most obvious thing, out of place thing that you probably see on this is the chainsaw and chainsaw mount. It is suggested that if you do this ride, that at least one person in your group has a chainsaw. So I drew the short straw on this one. My buddy Dylan had a much nicer headlight than me, so I was like, hey, I'll do the chainsaw mount and then make my own headlight mounts for it. This is not the chainsaw that I'm gonna be running. The chainsaw that I'm gonna be running is much shorter and much smaller than this one, so it won't interfere with either of these lights. The most difficult thing with this was probably figuring out what headlights I was gonna run. I ordered a bunch of different lights to test. This top one is a floodlight and this bottom one is a spotlight. And I thought that the two of those worked really well together, giving me a wide range of headlight. I'm gonna show you how this works. Just gotta turn the bike on. Okay. And then flip this. That'll be like for me driving down the road. I don't want to blind people, so that's just my floodlight that's pointing down. And then if I want both of them on, I flip this up to there. And that's my spotlight, so that's gonna be like my projection light, long distance light. I will also have a helmet light, so I think between the three of those lights I should be covered. Probably my favorite thing on it is this bracket that we made. It's all stainless steel laser cut pieces, so it mounts to my riser bolts. It has the headlight mount as well as my GPS mount. This is a Voyager Pro that I'm using. I also have another mount here which would just be for an iPhone, and I'm not using this iPhone for anything other than GPS. So it's got a permanent charging cord here, and then this is basically, this tank bag is gonna be my charging tank bag. So it's an SEA adapter, and then it has two USBs coming out. One USB will always be charging this phone, and then the other USB that can charge anything else that I need, my other iPhone as well as my helmet light. I might keep a snack or something in there, but for the most part, it's just gonna be for quick charging. My front end here, this is a stock Husqvarna front end that came on it. I got the suspension redone by SR1 for my weight as well as the weight that I'm carrying in the chainsaw mount. I put these Acerbis fork covers on it just to keep any dirt out. I won't have time to do any maintenance to the front end like on the trip, so my hope was to add whatever protection I could to prevent any wear on the seals. I added occasional other protecting items like this exhaust cover. This is an all carbon fiber piece. Obviously this bottom skid plate. Pieces like this to protect my rotor so those don't get bent. Like if I hit a rock, it hits this guard before it hits my rotor. And then same thing on the front end as well as on the bottom of the forks. Because this is all so exposed to basically the terrain, any rocks coming up. So these little plastic guards really do a lot protecting everything in this area. And then same thing here. I have Trail Tech radiator guards. That'll just help keep any trees from damaging my radiator, basically. I got a larger gas tank on here. This is a 4.5 gallon IMS gas tank. I have a spare fuel bag here. This is not where I'm gonna mount it yet. It's just kind of sitting up there for the time being, but this holds 2 gallons extra of fuel. I need to be able to go 250 miles in a day without stopping for fuel. I think I'll be able to get roughly 200 out of my gas tank, and then I'll have a spare 2 gallons for the additional mileage. And that's not every day, but just for some days, so I won't have this filled up every day. I have moose inserts instead of tubes. There's a lot of debate going on for people doing the tour that that's not the right setup. I understand the debate. I'm taking that chance because that's all I know. So I'm hoping that that's okay for me. Time will tell. I'll report back at the end. I have a Shinko fat tire on the front and a Dunlop AT81 the reinforced carcass version on the rear. The reinforced carcass version has like a little bit thicker of a wall. It should be a more durable tire. Got a seat concept seat. I'm gonna have a lot of seat time on here. People say this is the most comfortable seat on the market. For any of those that have ridden on a stock Husky seat, you know that they are not comfortable whatsoever. So I've gone through and changed every single wearable item. Chain, sprockets, brake rotors, all my brake pads. I did all my fluids, oil, brake fluid, clutch fluid, coolant, pretty much everything, I think. So it feels like almost a new bike for me. I haven't done anything internally to the engine other than check the valves. My heated grip selector on this side. That's another thing that's very difficult about this trip is in the morning, you might have freezing temperatures. In the afternoon, it could be 100 degrees. It's kind of a weird thing, like when you're packing, how much cold weather gear should I pack? How much warm weather gear should I pack? And I have to be fully self-sustained the entire trip. I have giant loop Mojave saddlebags here. These are overall pretty small bags. These are the only bags that I'm gonna have for 13 days. I have to be very strategic about everything that I'm packing. I went with these bags because I felt like if I were to go any larger with them, it would be more weight that I would end up putting in here. So I felt like by putting a smaller bag on, it would limit me to packing less. As far as things that I'll be carrying on this bike, they're very, very, very minimal. Obviously I have tools, any tools that I think I'll need to work on the bike, but even with those tools, I have to be strategic because one, I don't have much room, and two, I wanna keep my weight down as much as possible. I'll also have a few extra spare parts such as levers. So I'll have hand levers, foot shift lever, a couple electrical pieces, electrical connections. I worried about fuses, obviously, safety wire, things like that. I'll have one spare change of clothes. So I'm gonna be wearing one dirt bike gear outfit every day for the entire trip, and then I'll have one spare change of clothes, and that'll just be for getting around town in the evenings or the mornings or to sleep in, and then I'll have a bag of toiletries, and that's it. That's all I'm planning on carrying with me for the entire trip. So I'm gonna smell amazing in 13 to 14 days. I'll have deodorant.